All right, folks, we're back. Zombie Grub should be back shortly, too. I think she just went to get a drink or something. But New Gettysburg is going to be the locale for this first game. Reminder that this is going to be a best of 5. It's TVP. We've been casting, like, back-to-back ZVPs all over the place. It's actually weird that we haven't had more mirror matchups, all things considered, with the way the brackets have kind of pachinkoed down. But, yeah, it'll be a TVP for the winners bracket finals, best of 5. Thank you to Treeline or Treeline for the 16-month resub. Big love. And I was going to ask you, oh, right. So, Riamar sent me a message that I told him to message you about. And quick question on that note. Have you been remembering to include the cost of mailing Partoofs with the invoices for each month? Because I probably owe you money for those, just thinking on it.
I did it last month, but I hadn't been doing it beforehand, I don't think.
Okay, well, if you can put that in your brain as a bookmark, we'll get that sorted then. Make sure you're all covered and not paying out the butt for these Partoofs, man. Well, that's one of the things, like, by the way, guys, when we talk a lot about cost for BaseTradeTV, you don't see a lot of the stuff on the surface, right? There's things like costing for shipping, upkeep, things like paying admins, art assets. By the way, I'm so super excited. Today, our new video stuff is rendering, and I'm really excited for the new overlays. Because while they aren't super fucking blow your socks off amazing, it's a really nice new clean look that encompasses our new logo. And I'm very excited to show that off ASAP. Unfortunately, we won't really get to do much, but still, it's something that looks nice.
I always get so confused when those claps came down.
Yeah, so it's just claps for me. It should not overtake Riamar. I think it's just normal claps this time around.
Yeah, that's what it was. Claps. What was it for you?
Yeah, it was just claps. It was supposed to be. I thought you meant like it was supposed to, because that's not a secret triggered amount. $20
right,
is
exactly.
the Marauder shoot up. So I'm like, okay, that didn't bug out.
No. Like because it is. I feel like everyone else is trying to use the special ones. Just hearing the regular old claps, I'm just like, is a web browser playing an ad? Like, what's going on?
Well, thank you to Neil Sinar. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, dude. $25 is a very generous amount too. This is not a test donation, he says. Well, I don't know if I can believe that. That sounds like again like a double bluff coming into play.
All these double bluffs today. We're just lying. It's because you brought up lying at the beginning of the cast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to get into game number 1. Best of 5 kicking off here, folks.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I actually have an interesting, and I want to make this clear before I get into this, a bit of a discussion that's been brought up on Twitter by TLO regarding casting I want to go over. And I want to make this clear before I get into it. There's no actual defending of myself or my style. I actually agree with some of his points, but I want to pose the question to the viewers and see what they think. So get the intros out of the way first. It's game number 1. It's a qualifying match here for the WESG finals here for the German qualifier. In the bottom left, it's the red Protoss ShoWTimE.
In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, he is HeroMarine.
So before I get into this, I'm just going to say, well, actually, first, a big shout out to the fact that we are seeing a TVP in the finals. That's damn impressive. Thank you to HNK Olav, or Nkolav. I'm sorry, 7 months, either way. Big love. It's a fact that's actually been proven through science and studies that people don't know what they want, right? That being said, it's not hard to identify what's good versus bad. And TLO, for example, is talking a little bit about casting, commentary, and I don't think this was anything directed at anyone in particular, but just kind of commenting on how, like, you know, the skill of players is rising really fast, but the casters don't seem to keep up with it, or this, that, and the other. And in particular, his most recent, or last week before we got into this game, he talked about, like, pointing out build order development, showing things that are different now than they are later. But I'm curious because for me, I guess this is a very different point of view from us because we cast so much StarCraft. I would actually go crazy bored out of my mind if we talk about the same 1-1-1 or the double medevac build order every single time we see Terran play versus Zerg, because it is the same build out of all the top players right now, and it's just, I think, repetitive to an extent.
I think so.
Well, so this is my mindset on it, right? Like, we go for into the early game, we talk a little bit off-topic stuff, and that makes it not only I think some of the viewers enjoy it, some don't, but it's enjoyable for me. Whereas, like, if we come into the game and we have to say the exact, like, I already get bored with some of the stuff that we repeat already, but if we're repeating the same stuff over and over and over again, personally, I find that boring and repetitive. And if I'm going to be tuning into, like, BaseTradeTV casting every single day, I don't want to hear Rifkin talking about the, 2.5-minute gas timing every time a Terran plays or something like that.
I get what you mean, and I guess I kind of also get what TLO means. Like,
well, no,
for
I
you,
agree, again, like, I agree on his points. I just differ in personal preference. So,
well, I don't know what exactly he's talking about. I feel like I know what you're talking about, though. Like, we saw 2-1-1 as the only build anyone ever did, and actually we're seeing it again here, coincidentally enough. But of course, it's versus Protoss. This is
so it'll be a Widowmine job.
Will it?
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's what we go into, like, the normals, right? Like, what happens in, like, 90% of the games.
Usually the Widowmine drop is normal. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, 2-1-1 was really popular versus Zerg for, like, 2 months, especially because Biana was, like, using it every single game. And he could only describe what was going to happen so often with that build. Because I remember getting really bored just being like, this is super popular, guys. Like,
it's
going to hit it.
The 12th time he's doing it.
It's been 5 minutes.
He's going to win.
Like, yeah, it was really boring. But on the other hand, there has been a lot of recent development of the TVZ matchup where, like, 3CC builds are actually coming back in a style, which is really funny in my opinion. Of course, HeroMarine just showcased Hellion Banshee again, so really digging back deep into old builds. And of course, there was the Cyclone stuff that we see in other tournaments. There's some more exciting stuff than just 2-1-1.
To wrap this up, by the way, because we actually have to talk about the game now, it's getting interesting with the Oracle coming out. My thoughts are this, or my question I would like to pose to the audience is, and I will read the responses. 3 minutes delay, guys. Keep in mind. My question is, like, what do you guys prefer? Do you prefer something that's a little bit, I guess, like, not repetitive? You just want to hear, like, us talk a little bit or whatever, or do you prefer that more, I guess, super analytical? You want to hear about the build orders because it's without a doubt. By the way, ZombieGrub, she's been putting build order videos out on YouTube. She knows she analyzes a lot of these builds more than I do, guys. She knows how to talk about it. But the question is, I'm curious, like, how many people want to hear what is kind of the idea? Not saying this will influence change or determine how BaseTradeTV moves forward, but it's an interesting discussion, and I'm curious what public opinion is.
Yeah. There's actually a ton of interesting topics around that similar vein, but you're right. Let's talk about the game a little bit, because the Stargate opener, the Oracle, not doing too much. HeroMarine places his Marines in the mineral lines. This is really what you should do.
Whoa.
Well, he also goes for a really quick third base, which, I mean, Protoss, the quicker you get a third base, the quicker it's all set up with pylons, and oh, whoopsie, his Marines left.
I like this, though. That was kind of a nice move at a show.
Aww.
Like, by running out of the base, you think it's like the false sense of security. You think you're safe, comes back in, gets a couple kills. Obviously nothing too devastating, and the turret should be up for round 3. I was owning at this because I'm hoping that this is disruptor drops, and not necessarily fast Colossus. But with a third base, it's kind of more indicative that you're going for the macro style of it. Well, but I love the idea of disruptor drops.
The tricky thing about any robotics tech, whether it's disruptors or Colossus...
Marauders!
There you go. That's speaking of secret donations.
That's all I'm saying.
Right? Thank you to... Oh, it's Raymar again. Marauders should shoot up. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Raymar.
What I was going to say is, like, the tricky thing about Colossus and disruptors is that you got to have fodder for both, you know? Like... one can literally, like, it won't even attack if it's sniped. The other one can just go down really quickly with only getting 2 attacks in, which is not enough damage. So I was kind of, like, up in the air about what he wanted to do. It is going to be fast Colossus on the back of, like, very limited ground to cover it. And that ground is also not upgraded. So this does feel a little bit dangerous, but it is also going to be, I think, a surprise to HeroMarine. You know, you don't expect Colossus this early, although they certainly have been making their way back in the matchup in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more expected now than, say, it was at the start of Legacy of the Void. In fact, not even start, like, the first 6 months of Legacy of the Void, Colossus were almost like a taboo subject. Don't even try it. Blizzard tried to buff them with 10% attack speed. That didn't even bring them back into play. It really was just like this evolution of the way Liberators and everything were interacting that Colossus suddenly became good again.
Nice.
But... you talked about the fodder. I think right now there's an adequate amount of fodder, but there's actually not an adequate amount of Colossus. One Colossus is not that much damage, and a weak amount of splash damage doesn't scare a split bio army.
It's concerning if there's more Marauders, I would say. But the army's actually going to melt pretty quickly to the Adept and the Colossus combo. And Sentries are the perfect addition. I mean, you think back to Heart of the Swarm, and you would not have much on the ground when you went for Colossus. That's just, that's how Protoss was played, right? A small but powerful army. But if you had Sentries... that actually ended up being like sometimes the most important timing of the entire game was would you be able to block out the army from sitting on top of your Colossus? And if you couldn't, you literally just lost.
Yeah, I mean, Guardian Shield's one thing early on, especially when there's like not a lot of upgrades in play. But I really like Force Fields being able to split that force because, like, let's say that was more Marauders, right? Then they wouldn't have all been able to connect, and it would have been stimming on top of the Colossus to win. Either way, that was a pretty good trade for ShoWTimE, but not exactly super costly for HeroMarine early. Losing a lot of tier 1 units like Marines is not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse that it was mostly Marines, you know? Like, he's able to place it pretty easily. He's on his third, you know, and I think if you wanted to continue directly attacking, if it was, like, a smaller map, I mean, it wouldn't be, like, a terrible trade, I think, especially if you got, like, a good concave, but it is getting to almost 3 Colossus now, although, okay, they do have a 10 thermal lance, a few. So 3 Colossus with +1 and a nice amount of adepts on the ground. I think you do have to actually start waiting for the Vikings. Which apparently ShoWTimE's going to respond with what he is getting Blink, so he's going to be able to warp in Stalkers, but also a Void Ray.
Void Ray would actually be really nice, depending on what the Vikings decide to prioritize, right? Because if you ignore the Void Ray, it tears through the Vikings, and if you shoot the Void Ray, then you're not hitting those Colossus.
And it's 4 Vikings at a time, and I'm actually a little afraid that ShoWTimE's feeling too confident. He's looking at this army like, oh, it's small, it's just bio, I can totally take this on. You can try and chase it too because Blink's about to finish. Maybe get one of the medevacs it picks up, but it's New Gettysburg, and this is where like the size of the map I think was nice for ShoWTimE initially, but the size of the concaves is not going to be nice unless he can get on like a ramp or on really aggressive and get on HeroMarine's side of the map. I think he would be in some trouble. But he's bringing a lot of reinforcements over. He's still getting upgrades, still getting Colossus. And he will... actually, no, he's down in upgrades. Alright, so this would be, I think, not an ideal time to attack. But if HeroMarine just gets all clumped up and runs in... Oh, it's awkward. Okay, so he sees the army, at least. I think that's actually really important.
It was a big sacrifice to see the army. I mean, it wasn't a fully loaded medevac. It wasn't a ton of, like, ghosts in there or something expensive, but still kind of sucked to see. The revelation also revealing that there is a ton of Vikings out right now, and 4 at a time is pretty impressive. He's going to have about 12 to 16 by the time a fight comes down to play. By the way, reading a lot of these responses while you were talking, very interesting mix of opinions on this. But one in particular is giving you a bit of a shout out. Apparently, Streamer Girl watches all your analytical videos and enjoys them quite a bit. So just in case you missed that one.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It's not really like...
It is interesting though to see like this split down the middle though in opinions, because there are some people who are really like, I couldn't care either way. Some people are saying they really enjoy the banter and we catch the important bits, that's what matters. Some people are saying they wish they was more analytical. Like I preface this whole thing with like it's scientifically proven people don't know what they want, but I should have also said like you can't always please all the people all the time. That's a fact as well. But it's really interesting to see just how this is like when we put up a straw poll, it ends up being 50-50 no matter what we put up there.
Yeah. They just wanted to be 50-50. More than anything else.
There's like 3 options here, right? Like, but anyways, talk more on that later. Speaking of which, important stuff about to go down. The Liberators come up a little bit late for this, and I'm not sure how this will work. The Colossus, this looks like a hot fight with the one disruptor in the back end. He pulls back with a bio, abandons the Vikings, and the Vikings will take out the Colossus before going down, so now he's got a Bioforce that's still maybe not big enough to take on this fight. But let's not forget, there's still Disruptors waiting to fire off, and these medevacs won't get out of here alive if they have to pick up the bio and run. GG gets called. ShoWTimE takes game number 1.
Can you call me?
Absolutely. We're having Skype bugs again. Yay! So for those who don't know, what ends up happening is like you hear Zombie Girl crystal clear, she doesn't hear me. But now the annoying ringing sound awkward. We'll try getting this fixed up in a moment. Thank you again, Remar, for that $20 donation. $70 in total. What a baller. What a great, generous human being. And thank you very much for proving that Marauders should shoot up. Zombie Grub messaging like why you know pick up Helro. Alright, game's not going up right away, guys. I hate to hit you with more ads, but we'll see you in a couple minutes while I try and get the Skype problem resolved. Alright guys, we're kicking those ads back a little bit earlier because this game finally got underway, but also we got things resolved with Zombie Grub that I thought were going to take a few more moments than they did. So, welcome back.
Hi.
Okay, that was a little moment of, is she here? Actually, I don't know. So, okay, she is back. We fixed things. Yay! Getting into game number 2, though, it's a best-of-5 qualifying match of the winners side for the WESG qualifiers for Germany. And then it's going to be the Red Protoss ShoWTimE, currently leading 1-0 over his opponents.
In the top right has the Blue Terran. He is HeroMarine.
Alright, so HeroMarine, I think, made some of the right moves. I don't think made a lot of bad calls, but it may have just been a situation where, yeah, like, ShoWTimE did get quite the ridiculous army going. And whether that fight was going to be on the defense or the offense, hell, even if he pulled the boys, I still think that was going to be a really rough fight to take.
Yeah, I don't think pulling SEs would have helped.
I do wonder, though, the only caveat I bring to this is, had he waited, like, it was already going to be a tough fight with what he had. But as we saw the Vikings take on the Colossus, had he waited just a few more seconds, with the 3 Liberators he had making, would that have made a world enough of a difference for that fight to have not been so one-sided?
No, I don't think the Liberator, that amount of Liberators wouldn't have helped. I think he really needed to wait till he was maxed out, actually. There's a lot of things to talk about with that fight, because initially when the fight went down, I was very, like, I figured he would try and sack the Vikings on the Colossus. He got so many Vikings, and this was like a legitimate tactic. You know, there's a couple ways to play against Colossus and Heart of the Swarm. The most popular ended up being, you know, the very end, like Maru just dropping Marauders and, you know, super hype, super cool. But there's other ways, right? There's the actual late game where you got Ghosts and Vikings. There was the mass Vikings, of course, and you're not just like kind of all in and pulling the SCVs, and that's kind of what a HeroMarine team wanted to do. Like seriously, 4 Vikings at a time, not a reactor plus a tech lab into like Liberator range. He wanted to kill the Colossus, then take on the ground army. But Adepts have really changed up that dynamic. It's no longer just like, well, now the Colossus are out of the way, Stalkers are super easy to kill. Oh, there's like a lot of other things to consider.
So it's, I mean, back in the day, right? Talking HOTS for a moment, we saw that problem where, you know, Zealots could, with +3 armor, those could soak tons of hits, and you would have that same problem where, like, okay, you couldn't get to that nougaty, you know, Stalker center. Adepts, while performing that role, the nice thing I think about them is that, well, Charge Lots were great at taking out Marauders. They still failed pretty hard to Marines, but Adepts have that different aspect where they just perform pretty well against anything if there's enough of them. I wonder at what point, though, we're going to start seeing, like, if you remember, Protoss used to have, like, layering in their army when it came to, like, PvP specifically, right? Like, you'd have to have the Zealots on the front line, the Archons and the Colossus. I wonder at what point we'll start seeing that with, like, say, PvT, where, like, okay, you actually want both Zealots and Adepts to, like, a certain degree in front of those Stalkers, in front of those Colossus, instead of just massing out whichever one you felt like making that game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ShoWTimE bringing out that style was certainly something that HeroMarine had to respond to. Maybe he's not totally 100% comfortable in responding to. I mean, there's certainly a time period where a lot of the Koreans we were watching would just get absolutely stomped by Colossus builds. And then now it's not nearly as drastic. And that same type of Colossus build, the one that starts really early and ends up with 4, doesn't happen totally often. It is something that they deal with a lot better. I mean, think about when Beyond had to deal with it against SOS, he dealt with it really, really well. And that was because he waited up for a maxed out army with like every single unit he would ever need, and then took a really good engagement.
Man, that was a lot more like SOS just couldn't deal with Beyond, though, if we're going to be real for a second.
Well,
like, that was...
yeah, I mean, SOS, it was the finals, wasn't it? Maybe it was the semifinals. Yeah. Either way, the pros didn't get extended thermal lance, which is certainly a big deal, but...
Well, so that was hilarious, and like the casters are missing it, whatever, because you don't notice that anymore. But for me, we talked about this, the stream doesn't know it, I was out that evening, so I didn't actually see the game Beyond lost. I came home for like game 3 or something. So for me, it was a flawless victory with no Protoss victories at all in that final.
The only one Beyond lost was like a weird cheese. Not enough Marines in the mineral line, actually. I think he was just hoping to, yeah, there you go, get the Widowmine.
Man, it is such a slam out of the sky. I wonder which is actually more savage, a Widowmine killing something like that, or like the feedback on a medevac full of units.
I feel like the feedback, because like I gotta imagine with the Widowmine, because you know you're locked on. It's exactly like the movies, you know, where it's like, it's locked on, I'm trying to shake him, I can't shake him, boom. But the feedback just like derp 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 derp, slam. No warning whatsoever.
The Phoenix can pick and choose here.
Although you'd think that like the Terran would like intentionally make the health points of the medevac more than the energy points so they could never be killed in feedback.
You know, Zombie Grub,
Huh.
there's a reason people don't like your kind around here.
I mean, there's reasons it's not to. It's like an instant fix.
You thanking types out there.
Anyway.
Actually, well, I guess that is the arbitrary energy set for like, all units in the game. There's nothing that doesn't have a 200 energy limit, is there?
I've never even considered this at all.
But that's my point. Has anyone? Like, this is such a we've accepted it thing in the game where no one questions it because that's how it's always been. Would there be any merit to customizing it?
Everything's 200? Oh my god.
Yeah, Queens, Templar, Infestors. I've been clicking on the sentries in the mothership while this is going on.
Wasn't there a upgrade? One of the changes in the Caduceus reactor was like plus 25. Oh, that was starting energy.
The starting energy, yeah.
Yeah, I've never thought about this.
I mean, feedback doesn't have, like, let's be honest, it's always cool to see, but it doesn't affect much. I mean, even Overseers, 200. Again, like, Overseers should actually have more energy if you think about it, so they can do things like contaminate more instead of just once.
This is blowing my mind, man. HeroMarine is pushing forward with a tank Widowmine push. I mean, the single over is actually
I like
pretty
the Widowmines. He didn't kill that Widowmine, by the way, which was kind of a big deal. The fact that it gets to reburrow is huge.
Yeah. Now, HeroMarine doesn't quite have stim, but ShoWTimE just doesn't have enough army to take this on. You're really depending on the post overcharge to continue buying time. The Phoenixes will be very useful, especially if you could get an observer over here to take out the Widowmine.
I mean, the biggest thing those two Widowmines are doing is keeping the Adepts from transferring directly on top of the tanks. Liberator helps with that too. The Observer on that backside, I'm not sure how big of a deal because he sees those Widowmines. He knows they're going to pop off. One goes on the Mothership Core, the other goes on the Adepts. Either way, the tanks get lifted up, damage goes down, and it looks like HeroMarine will get stopped in his attack.
Yeah, and the Phoenixes ended up being so helpful as long as he didn't run over the Marines. Tanks had a couple of last shots, not bad really, considering they could have been just entirely killed out of the fight, but HeroMarine does take a dip in supply there. That push, I would say, is not effective enough.
Even orbitals have 200 energy. I'm really mad that this is not something I've ever considered for like 6 years of this game.
And they've never brought it up.
And I think it was that way in Brood War 2, right? Like, I'm actually thinking back to it. I don't know any units there that had different than...
I honestly have no idea, but there's a depth attack coming in here. The combat shield isn't done. Resident Enclaves +1 is. It's going to be a hard defense for HeroMarine. He does have decent production now. Like, his production those are all up and running.
Well, he actually, the Phoenixes will lift up these Marauders, pretty easily.
Yeah.
SCVs get pulled away.
He's gonna, give up the third, because it should be able to live anyway, but I think he already lost too much army.
With Phoenix there, he might not actually get out of here with us alive. The Stalkers can shoot it, the Adepts can shoot it, he lifts up, and the Phoenix shoot it.
Well, he should have already lifted it, and it should have already been on the way over. It took so much extra damage from the Adepts.
So SCV's got to get pulled right back into the action, repair that command center ASAP. If he loses this like this, that's probably game. But you gotta wonder what's going on with HeroMarine right now, because this is a guy we watched him go from sloppy play to tightening every mistake he made up from game 1 to game 2 versus Lambo. Not happening here. He's just falling apart to ShoWTimE.
He is. I mean, really nice surgical strike. You gotta remember, like, ShoWTimE was on the cusp of getting all of his upgrades and his production when that tank attack happened. He cleans that up, and then he does have this like perfect counter opportunity.
So I know you had referenced Byun and SOS at the start of that game. I'm just going to bring this up now. I know you got people like really all-star Rising Terran players like Euthermal out there who still hate TVP. You got really good players like Byun, who I think a lot of people know he's lost a couple of games to TVP with, but like I've spoken to him like privately on Skype about some of the matchups, and like until you've seen Byun balance whine in broken English about TVP, you don't understand how much like even people like him hate TVP. Like I'm not trying. I want to stress this. I'm not saying the matchup is broken and unfair, but this is something that the slight favoritism to Protoss has tilted a lot of Terran players, and I'm wondering if this might just be a weakness of HeroMarine, because he looked so good playing against Lambo and tightening up the mistakes from game 1 to game 2. Phenomenal. Then we come into this series and he's a hot mess.
Yes, he's a hot mess.
I don't mean that in a demeaning way, by the way. It's just it is surprising to see him go from super hot to super cold in the matter of like one other best of 3 that we cast.
Yeah, it does seem it's going from like a 2-0 against the opponent to a 3-0 against him. Things keep looking similar. But he has losers round. So.
Oh, I didn't realize. I keep getting all these favorites and tweets from people I haven't heard of on that stupid Loco tweet. Then I realized Loco retweeted.
Ah.
All right. So, by the way, on the bottom side of this, I don't think we have any crazy results going on just yet. But I think is Gung Fu Band and TLO held for us to cast after that rematch, or do they play that out now and then we play the winners or the losers finals after?
The order I was given was then winners finals, then losers finals, then a last match. So yeah, that would be the losers finals. So that should be held.
Oh, if there's a last match, there's only one spot to get. No, it says top 2 qualify. I guess that's
The losers final is Gung Fu TLO, but the grand final losers is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a best of 3 and a best of 5 behind this still, and then it's over.
Correct.
Gotcha. Oh, I didn't get an invite again. Feels bad, man. Man, I'm like so paranoid they're gonna start without me one of these times. Freaking admin hates me or something. Literally no
Nexus
invites.
Have 100 energy.
Do Nexus have 100 energy?
Got him. I don't know.
Do Nexus even have energy anymore?
Wait a second. You're blowing my mind right now.
The Chrono Boost doesn't cost energy anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that's even correct.
I mean, I want to make it clear, guys. This whole energy thing is not like, oh my god, we found a way to change StarCraft 2 for the better. There's such little involvement with energy in the first place. It's just kind of interesting. Anytime you have something in life that you've just taken for granted and realize, like, whoa. Like, when I learned that, like, humans ate bananas wrong or whatever, right? For a minute, I was like,
That's it.
holy shit, no way. But it didn't change how I ate bananas in the slightest.
Did it used to have 100 energy?
Maybe it used to. I don't know. I can't actually think back to whether it had 100 or 200. I didn't play Protoss
Right?
enough.
Oh my god.
Well, I'm sure Zombie Up Google's old VODs from like 2016 or 15, excuse me, to find out or something. We are going to get into game number 3, and this is actually match point now. He's up 2 games. He's looking to win it all right here, right now. Ladies and gentlemen, in the bottom left side, we've got the red Protoss ShoWTimE.
In the top right, as the blue Terran, he is HeroMarine.
So, maybe, and hear me out, right? Tinfoil hat on. If you guys get the Rift Conspiracy emote in chat, I need you to drop it right now before some Rift Logic hits you, okay? Maybe HeroMarine, fully aware of not just us and the other casters casting, but also the audience and their thirst and hunger for Terran, says if I won this, then I would just be done and they'd be left with ZVP and ZVZ for the rest of it, or PvP for the rest of it. However, if I lose this, then I can show more good games and win through the losers bracket while still giving everybody the more Terran that they crave.
You're probably right. That's exactly what he wants.
I'm sure that's the calculus. I mean, German, they're known for their precision, and this just seems like
German
something...
precision.
Precision engineering. This just seems like something that would be well calculated by a smart... I was going to say cookie, but I'm going to say individual, such as HeroMarine.
Smart cookie. Feel bad eating them. It's like eating a smart octopus. Which people still do. They should feel bad.
We talked about it at the start of the cast, off
Did
mic,
we?
about the Reddit thread regarding evolutionary failures for animals.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know how octopuses mated until I read that thread.
Oh, yeah, that was like the top comment when I saw it.
Yeah, they literally rip off their junk and throw it at the others. It's like, hey, catch!
You want
Open
sex so
wide!
much? Take it!
Yeah. I was actually
It's the
surprised.
extreme of a headache.
I was surprised praying mantises weren't in there. Speaking of headaches, like those are other animals too. They mate and like they die. Like the females just straight up eat the heads of the males. Like what's up with that? How did that become a thing?
Well, isn't it more like, because people have clarified about
She's like,
that.
I'm a
It's
little.
sometimes...
You know what? That took a lot. I'm a little bit peckish. What's there to eat? And then I guess that where the phrase "give me head" came from.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I don't know about that, but it's either praying mantises or black widows, where one of them actually doesn't always eat its mates. Like it's like peckish. It's like, you know what?
Okay, but
I'm kind of hungry.
here's the thing. Like, let's assume this applied to humans. Let's say in the society of humans, it was standard practice after sex that if the female enjoyed it, she eats the head of the male, right?
What would that be like?
So like, Zangrib, you choose with your male partner, whoever to be named, not to eat their head. Does that offend the male in that situation? Like, oh, it wasn't good enough for you, so you don't want to eat my head? Or is he relieved, like, I get to live to see another day. I can tell somebody I had sex.
That is a good question. I don't know.
I do.
Wouldn't that be something for you to answer?
Well, see, for me, I think I would actually fall into the first category. But like, oh, I didn't do a good enough job. She just want to eat my head. Feels bad, man.
Well, what if it's like the deal is that 90% of praying mantis actually do suck at sex, and that's why their head is ripped off. For the 10% that aren't.
This was inadequate. You shall never displease another woman, and I'll make sure of it. Rip.
We don't know. We haven't talked to him.
That's a crazy society to think about, actually. That's some, like, super, like, post-war shit. But this is actually not enough Marines to fight with. And HeroMarine could be in some trouble.
It's not. He's supposed to be. He did see the Oracle, which I think is, like, really important, too, so they did pull the SCVs.
He turns to focus it. I'm not sure. This starts pushing back the Adepts. I think if ShoWTimE had stuck with it, he would have killed all the Marines. But perhaps at the cost of the Oracle.
Close. Again, like, I think if he doesn't pull the SCVs immediately, too many Marines die, and then it's a snowball effect from that. So it's really important that ShoWTimE like showed it for like half a second, I think. But he did have production. You know, he's on 2 barracks as a reactor, so he would have lost the natural line. Oh,
that was a
boom.
great catch.
Bang. He would have lost the natural mineral line, and that would have been devastating. That's a lot of SCVs over down there, but he would have survived and gotten his counter with the medevacs, which are almost out. So they'll be with Stim. If he goes directly to the 3rd base, I don't think he can get a cancel, which is unfortunate, but he could probably kill the pylon.
Well, Stim can bring a... It changes the way this acts a lot, right? Like, on one hand, if this was a drop that, say, a comp shell prioritized, they could live a little bit longer, but they wouldn't be able to be as maneuverable. And I think running away from the overcharge is huge. So this Stim, maybe not even so much for damage, but just positioning for this fight. I mean, you're running away from force fields, you're trying to get around that overcharge. This is actually really nice for HeroMarine.
Well, he's gonna get this pylon. Not the one I was talking about, but still same idea. And he's gonna threaten the 3rd base. Like, ShoWTimE's army has to come over here. It's really not the biggest army. Essentially could be pounced upon.
Oh, I love this Widow Mine, actually, because he's not gonna see it.
Yeah,
it's hidden by the smoke.
Clever girl.
Oh, if that had been targeted, manually targeted, he totally could have got both sentries. But that's a lot of if and whatever, because they're still not bad out of him.
Yeah, and dropping those Marines on top of the army wouldn't have been pretty... That would have been good. Now the Widow Mine's going to be repositioned, though, because I don't think ShoWTimE really, like, still thinking about it.
Yo, that hit may not have actually registered, funny enough. Like, it's really obvious to us, but... Okay, there we go.
But I think he has to be worried, though, right? Like, he doesn't know where the 2 medevacs are. Logic would say that, you know, they go off to the left side, but he might be too distracted clearing that up. Well, they take their time to get to the left side, though, so that's opportunity missed.
Well, pylon on this side, medevacs have got to, if nothing else, scout at some point to see a Colossus start coming once again. It looks silly to prepare so many Vikings so early. It was an absolute necessity. And when you're fighting against people going Colossus, time is of the issue. So he scans the natural, sees nothing alarming. Main base still hasn't been seen, and he doesn't know about the Colossus just yet. But he's looking to do some multi-pronged harass. ShoWTimE, however, has left some Adepts and that Colossus over here towards that 3rd.
I like the split. I like the split a lot.
I like the split, too. It's impressive to see, because a lot of time Protoss under-split or undervalue just how much these attacks will do. Not ShoWTimE.
If he had combat shields especially, I think he could have dropped on the Colossus. Myri style, but did not decide to go for it. So, the game continues, and as you know, you're talking about the Vikings and whatnot, he does get a 2nd starport. The question is always going to be, and it kind of looks like it's going that way because his factory just lifted off of a reactor. Is he going to go for 4 Vikings at a time, or is he going to try and get Liberators in Liberator range and then Vikings? Because I really think that there's a time where, yeah, ShoWTimE's army is small enough that you can pounce on him with a good concave, you can get the Colossus down fast enough, you'll win. But after a certain point, with all the upgrades and all the fodder on the ground, it actually swings back into their favor until you can get a maxed army yourself. I think this is going to be as close as we can get to a repeat of the new Gettysburg game and what that'll look like. Now that HeroMarines are, like, I guess, a little more, like, expecting what's going to happen.
Well, the amount of Marauders this time is looking pretty nice on 9.
They have to put it in emote mode.
Well, let's be honest. We were talking about the S word, and the immaturity of Twitch chat can't handle that. So.
Oh, did we shout out Fothu?
Fothu, thank you very much for resubbing. I'm assuming 9 months. How do we know Rifkin isn't a vampire? Cause I can get a fucking mirror if my webcam was working and show you my reflection. That's how.
Okay, so Ghost Academy is on the way. Okay, so HeroMarine, I still don't know if he's gonna wait till he's maxed out with the perfect army, but I would really like it if he did. I think that could be the difference in winning and losing, like he did last game, or sorry, first game to Gettysburg. Man, losing 2 Marauders, nice pickup. But what's funny is that like,
so.
If he brought the Viking, how many Vikings do you have right now? No, 4. Never mind.
Okay, so he's not gonna have like the 16 or whatever he was going for that last time, but he's gonna have Ghosts. What do you think about the addition of the EMPs here? Like, you need significantly less Vikings if you EMP those Colossus.
That is an interesting dynamic that I don't think that HeroMarine's quite taking into account. It's always like super nice to get EMPs on everything, but of course the priorities will be on the depths, charge lots, sentries even. But I like that he's going for the max out perfect army instead of just going with the Vikings, even though he might have had a chance, like right now, with enough Vikings before Blink, before Disruptors are out, to take a good concave and a good fight. I think it's still a little bit too dangerous, and he might still want to wait till he's maxed out, but he's actually moving out, letting his third base just get, I mean, the SCVs were pulled, sure, but it's not mining now, and he's kind of all in with this. And if his attention is at all divided, that could be devastating for his attack. And now the Disruptors are out. At least one of them is. Like, if he can snipe that, that's very helpful.
These two are perfect to get sniped. He sees it with the high ground, too. Identifies, hops on one, hops on the other. Doesn't focus fire those. Splits at the last second. A little bit messy. Attack on the right side coming in. The Ghosts do not land those EMPs, but the Colossus still do get focused down by the Vikings. Mission accomplished over there, but he's got to fall back because the ground army is not going super well for him. Marauder's running through the middle of the battle because, you know, that's what happens when you control a group like that, but man, oh man, this went a little bit sour for HeroMarine, but at the same time, a couple things really went right here.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing, of course...
Oh, no! Not like this! Not like this!
It was probably already game, to be honest. He lost too many SCVs, and his third base still isn't mining, but, like, it would have been really close. I mean, it still is kind of close. GG.
GG, congrats, good call. Congratulations to ShoWTimE. He'll win first place in the German qualifier for WESG.
Nice.
But HeroMarine's not out of it yet, StarCraft fans, and he will still have another chance in the loser side. He'll play against the winner of TLO and Gung Fu Banda, which will be coming up next. Now, we're going back to best of threes for this one, but this is a rematch. We had TLO floor Gung Fu Banda with a 2-0 last time they played. Gung Fu Banda doing weird things like cannon rushes and what have you in the winner's bracket. He's going to have to really step it up now because they are in the loser's bracket finals. That being said, I guess we'll go to a small break on our side, folks. While I go debate my life as a human instead of a praying mantis or octopus. We'll see you guys in 2 minutes.